Okay, guys, let's get started. 10 a.m. Thanks for coming. So today is going to be a little bit more educational. We have some new people here. Again, if you have a question, feel free to open up your mic and just ask your question. We'll keep it interactive. I'll talk a little bit about my setup, and then we'll look at what the indicators say, and we'll take some trades. Um, but I'm not going to be able to read too much of the text chat and respond to that because it's distracting. So let's get going. If you want to test your mic, feel free to do that. uh, the first thing, so what I set up here, make sure you see my desktop. So there's 5 people looking at my desktop, and there's 6 people in here, so someone's not seeing it, but you should be able to see a browser, and just gonna show you what my setup is. So what I have here in my office is actually I have multiple iPads, each one with a different chart on it. So that way I have a nice big display, dedicated. They don't use much power. They stay on 24/7. They they're bright, and I don't have to worry about them. So let's see. So the first chart, so I told you guys. So what I start off with during the day is I like to listen to Trade Brigade. Here it comes on at 8 a.m. I send you guys a link to that. He does a welcome until 8:05, and then he just goes over the market, what's happening, and so that's just good so that I don't miss anything on a bigger macroeconomic scale. And then he'll just give his view on, ES and NQ, and then I drop off. So, I spent about 30, 40 minutes on it. And you could listen to him if you only get up, you're in California, you only get up at 9 a.m. You can still go to his channel and just rewind it, and then that's a great recap for the day. Um, and then you'll also talk about gap up, gap down, how to trade that. I think if you're still not profitable, you could learn a lot from him. But so then, if you look at my desktop, so I like to look at SPY because that's obviously the cash market. You can see, so if you use the indicator Gapster, it will show you any kind of gaps. So we don't have any recent gaps here right now, but I mean, there's some gaps in the past. You will see these clouds. This just tells me, look, we're in an uptrend. Okay. So if you want to maximize your profitability, then you should be thinking about, longs instead of, shorts. Where if you go back a little bit in time, you can see that the cloud totally showed you consider, more of a bearish look, but there's no reason to be bearish at this moment. And then this is the daily chart. This is the 4-hour chart, and so we can zoom in a little bit. Um, I have so we have SPX indicator, and it lets you show on the chart different, SPY, ES, NQ. You can select those, and then this is the ATR. So we can see that the ATR right now for NQ is 17, and so that just tells you how big the price action is. So it's a little bit big, but it's not extremely big. So if it gets down to single digits, then it's moving very slow. If it gets above 30, then obviously you gotta totally size down. So these are important things to look at your ATR, get used to it. 4-hour chart, again, there's a cloud here. This red band at the top, that gives you kind of, price likes to stay within these bands. So the red band and the green band, you can see how if price gets there, it likes to bounce or reject. And they are also shown on the lower time frames. So that's something that I constantly look at and say, okay, we're kind of running out of steam. So like if I'm getting close to the upper band, I'm not going to be looking for longs, even though we're bullish. I'm gonna be, very careful on my longs. Where if I get to the bottom band, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be careful on the shorts because price likes to stay within these bands. Okay. Still making sense, guys? So I'm just giving you an overview of how I like to approach the day and price action and just to get a feel for what we're trying to do. Okay, so then going down to the 15-minute chart, that's the other one I like to look at. This bright white line, that's the VWAP, very important. Again, I like the cloud. So this red band or line and green line, that's the same as what we saw on the previous chart. That shows you the price range. You see it's a slightly different, so it might be different. But again, this is so we see these bands. That one's a little further away. But yeah, so if you see these bands again, when you get close to the top or the bottom, then for the day you want to be careful because price is just moving too fast. Is basically down to very important levels. So now if you look at this day, the blue lines show you the pre-market high and low, and then the overnight high and low. Okay, those are very important markets where you can expect interaction. Then you have the previous day high and the previous day low. Again, very important action. And you can see how yesterday morning there was a strong move up, building thin structure. And so that also gave you a gap up because you could see here that was this day's high. So when you move up with thin structure, that's why, in one of the groups I said, hey, look for shorts to the gap close on the previous day's high and then look for a bounce there. And that's exactly what happened. So again, you got to understand why these levels are important because sellers have proven at this level that they're strong. And so you could see how price came up, went down, and then when it got back there at the top, they stepped up again and they sold it. So when you're in these ranges, when you're at the top of the range, you're not going to get bullish without proper confirmation. When you're at the bottom, you're not going to get bearish. Okay. Now, so we'll talk a little bit about that, but you can see here. So today we're in the previous day's range. So that's yesterday. This is today. When we're in the previous day's range, we're more likely to chop. When you get above the pre-market high, you're more likely to move up. When you're below the pre-market low, you're more likely to go down. Okay, so you have to understand these things. This is important price action. Again, here we have pre-market low and see what the price did. Very choppy within the previous day's range. What happens? It went down. It almost hit um, the previous day's low, that orange line, and the pre-market low, and then it bounced. Okay, so when you're at the bottom of the range, you're more likely to bounce. When you're at the top of the range, you're more likely to reject. Okay, we're just playing the odds here. Okay, now you can be wrong. Like here, you got to the bottom of the range, and then you broke down. So it worked there 4 times, and then it failed. But we also know that we had a gap up with thin structure. So the play that we usually look for those that's been here longer, is a gap fill. And when you get a gap fill, you look for the gap fill reversal. And now when you're below this cloud and below the VWAP, then obviously you need a little bit more confirmation. We'll look at that. Then what I like to do is I like to go to the 5-minute chart. So if you look at the 5-minute chart, you could see better, what's happening. Because, I trade on the 1-minute chart, but you cannot ignore this chart. So I have a separate iPad with the 5-minute chart on it so I can see what's going on. So you can see nice follow through. You can see the chop here. Okay, so you can see chop range. And right now we're in that chop range. You can see this from pre-market chop range. You want to take a trade here? Not really. I mean, you can make money, but again, if you have chop, the best probability trades are long at the bottom, short at the top. I mean, we know that. That's just how it works. If you have a trend day, if we start breaking above the pre-market high and you start trending, then you're only looking for longs. And we'll look at the indicators and they help you. If you have a trend move below the pre-market low, then you look for shorts. Okay. Now Mancini will tell you only to look at longs, and if even if there's a short, just wait until there is a bear trap. So that's a very good strategy if you want to follow that. You can see we have top here. So big candles. This is the 5-minute chart. Then if we go down here, this is um, the 1-minute chart. You can see that. So if you look at this, so I have SPY at the top and VIX at the bottom. And I love using these two together. And I have separate iPads, separate VIX. But if you look at it on the same chart, it's a little cluttered, obviously. But you can see how VIX, and this is what the VIX indicator, you can see how it moved down and then ES went up. And then you see it moving up. So yellow on my stuff is up and blue is down on all my indicators. So you can see as VIX moved up, ES moved down. Okay. Now, ES and NQ moves together a lot. I mostly trade ES because it moves slower. You know, NQ gives me like panic attacks. Um, I'm not that good yet, but sometimes I trade it when the move is clear because you definitely win quicker and lose quicker. But you can see here, so when ES was holding here, like it was very clear that there's going to be a move up if you look at VIX. So I mean, I took a quick trade long here, and it was more a test trade. So I only locked in $50 because I wanted to get ready for the session. But this gave you more confidence that you could see how price is holding here. So you see it move down and you can see it's holding. You see the wicks here, you can see the dojis, it's not going anywhere. And then you're like, are we going up or down? And then VIX say, well, I think we're going down. And then you can put on risk and you can say, okay, I want to play up. But if you're not profitable, don't play the open. Wait. But you can see VIX going down, price moved up. Now, if you look at this, we get to the top there and we reject. And, I like to watch NQ at the same time because if you look at NQ at this time, NQ was actually at the VWAP and rejecting it. So so this thin white here and there, that's the 10-minute Bollinger Band. Again, price likes to stay within that. So if you're gonna go in for a long, you gotta look at your profit levels. Like take profit quicker, especially in the beginning of the day. Don't try to be a hero. If you have a trend move, you can hold longer when you have see the alpha zone forming and it's being respected. But so if you got into a long here, your first profit target should have been VWAP. The next profit target should have been the Bollinger Band. Next one should have been the upper band. Um, but and then VIX started giving you an orange sideways candle, which is like I'm not really sure, and then you get a yellow candle, and so this should already say lock in and go. So you can see how you got this yellow candle on a little bit the small candle. So you could have been out of there before the dump. I mean, you could have taken the dump, obviously, but the point is knowing when to lock in. This is where VIX helps me a lot. It's just seeing this, and then again, VIX down, VIX up. So this is one of my favorite ways. So I use Icon candles on VIX. You set it up here. So you can change your candles. If you click on the star, you favorite it, and then it shows up in that list. So this is the only place where I use Icon candles, and it helps me with confirmation. You can see right now we're going sideways, up and down, up and down. And again, if you trade that, short at the top, long at the bottom. You can see buying pressure, yellow, blue, yellow, blue. So the market is still deciding what to do. But, we're below certain clouds, so we're leaning a little bit more bearish at this point if you look at all of the clouds. Okay, this is just ES by itself. Now you can see that when you have a long signal here at the top, this is not the place to take it. Okay. Now you could take it and then stop out quickly if you want, but when you see chop back and forth, you gotta know that when you have signals, you gotta know when to ignore it. So if you look at this, I'm looking for an alpha zone that's respected. So this is the alpha zone, so you can see it between the thin line and the thick line. And so it's thick line at the bottom, so it's going then thick line crossing. So you can see it's back and forth. So we have chop. While we have chop, you gotta ignore any kind of signals. If you want to play the chop, which I recommend not doing, but if you do, you're gonna long at the bottom, short at the top. Okay. And if you're wrong, you know to stop out quickly. Okay. So that's then I have VIX. So again, you can see this is the alpha zone on VIX. You can see how it just up and down. So VIX is not, you know, down, up, down, and it could bounce again, So if we get clear direction and VIX stays below the alpha zone or stays above it, those are the best trades. Okay. And you can make money in the meantime, but you gotta wait for those because look at this. Okay. Can you make money? Absolutely. If you look at this, on NQ question. So when you look at NQ, you can see that clearly we have this is the money flow. I know it's one of Chris's favorite things. But so when you have the money flow, these 2 grams, these vertical bars, and you have the red dots. So when you have that, your lean is still bearish. So even when you have this go up, your lean is still like I'm below the 48 cloud. This is the 48 cloud. I'm below the VWAP. I have blue money flow. Okay. Here I have buying pressure and then it goes yellow. So bulls taking control, but you have a downward sloping VWAP and you're rejecting it. So right here, even if when this thing turns blue, that's a good short because you're rejecting a downward sloping VWAP. Okay. Um, Here you can see how it rejects the 48 cloud right there, the brown cloud. I mean, so we're definitely, we look at the bigger picture. I mean, we're chopping, we're up and down, but the bigger picture at this moment, and with trading, it can change anytime, we're still leaning bearish. Okay. And so you got to know what your bias is. And so you're gonna, if you're bearish, if the bias is bearish, then taking shorts at the top um, could work better. I mean, market can do anything it wants, but you have to decide: am I looking for longs now, or am I looking for shorts? And that's the first thing. It's like if you keep changing direction, you're gonna blow up your accounts. Okay. So that's the charts. You can see obviously we have yellow buying pressure, we have green dots there. So the bulls are making progress, but you have to also see that the alpha zone is not inverted yet. The alpha zone, the thick line is still at the bottom. Until it gets above, we're still not bullish. So you can see that if you look at the alpha zone. And that's why I tell you to look at NQ and ES, because you can see with NQ it had a clean short right there. Okay. And then the alpha zone starts spreading its legs you can see that it never inverted. So even with all of this moving up, all of this moving up, all of this moving up, the alpha zone is still slanted bearish. Okay, so you can see that the thick line is still at the bottom and it has not inverted yet. Okay, so so you should be careful with the longs, because you want to see a few things happen, and one of them is getting alpha zone inverted. Now, again, you could make money by longing at the bottom, and I mean, but again, if you're not a profitable trader, you want to have more patience and wait for the proper setup. So alpha zone is bearish. You have negative money flow. You reject downward sloping VWAV. You reject the 48 cloud. And again, you don't have to take the trade going into it. You could see, I mean, look at this. So you have a impulsive move down, an impulsive move up, and look, it gives you one, two, three, four candles trying to break through the VWAP. It fails. Okay. Then you have this move down. Okay. So you don't have to get in at the VWAP. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but in this case, you would have probably stopped out and lost money. Um, but if you see it struggling there and then eventually giving up, you could only get in around here, maybe make some money. But again, this is chop. We're in the previous day's range. I showed you that. So not the best trading conditions right now. Okay. Um, any questions at this point? I'm gonna talk a little bit about the actual trading and how I do that. But any questions? Yes. So U.S. government shutdown imminent. So that's also gonna drag on the market. Thanks, Asia Room. So that's something to keep in mind when there's some worries at the higher level that could impact the market, but not always. Sometimes that's exactly when everyone's bearish. That's when the market moves up. So it's about how people react to news. But when you have something that big, that probably will make the market more choppy and more trappy. So today might not be the best day to trade with that looming. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so what I want to show you a couple of things here is so I have something called Trade Monkey, and so it's just like how I take my trades. So I have different prop accounts, um, and I'm not gonna go into all of the details. Like, so I took so I could select exactly what account I want to trade, and on another one it screen will show the balances for all of those. And then so the important thing is, and I'm sure you guys know FSP. I usually have him on in the background, so I'll turn him on when we start looking for real trades. And I don't take his trades because sometimes he does amazing, and sometimes he just doesn't. But it's nice to have him as like a second opinion on what the market is doing. Um, but so with this, so the important thing, and so I've learned a lot from FSP in terms of trading one account at a time, because I build, for the guys that's been here a longer time, I build a copy trader that just like trades all of the accounts at the same time, and it works really amazing, and it's great until you take a bad trade and you hold it longer than what you need to, and then what you have is now you have the stress of having to make up that loss, and then you start tilting. So I've learned the best thing is to trade one account at a time. So you're gonna have prop accounts that is still in the test stage, and you're going to want to trade them one at a time. And then when you have better setups, then you can get your funded accounts and trade them. Now with this tool, I do have the option if I wanted to trade multiple accounts, I could. Um, so sometimes when it's good setup or I have more test accounts, so I can do that and it will show me and I can just sort it and it will tell me what account to take next. So if I click on sort, it will just put the accounts on the left. So these are funded accounts, the blue ones, the red ones are test accounts, and you can just hide the ones you don't want to trade today. So I just open up the prop accounts I want to trade today. So these are funded, and the red ones are still in test stage. And then you can just select them, and then you can at the bottom you could say like what my stop loss is before I get into trade, and then what my take profit is. And then you can go long, short, and you can get out of them, and then it will let you know notifications, and then which ticker you want to trade: ES, MES, NQ, MNQ. Um, so like if I only need like a trade for that day and it's already funded, I'll just do an MES or MNQ just so that I have some trade. So because with take profit they want you to have 5 days traded. And then the other thing is, so this gives you like just some news that's in there, and if you do the
Audio enabled.
audio alerts, then it will read those, and then these are just the last three Mancini messages. So definitely, I mean, Nina will tell you what a big difference that makes just following his levels. So if you're just gonna like follow his levels, we'll give you the last three messages. You can read them, you can close them out. Um, and then if you put audio alerts on, it will actually speak that new tweet that Mancini sent. So if you're still trying to be profitable, definitely consider just reading his messages and or listening to it. And then they're also in Discord, so you can just follow that. And then with this, if it looks like we're in an uptrend or downtrend, I just toggle those buttons, and then it will automatically start getting into trades and lock in profit. So it just helps a little bit with uh, that, so that you have more patience taking the trades. And then the actual trades. So then another pair. So this is the news events for today. The red ones are market moving. So you want to make sure you know what those are. But again, they're listed. They're in the Discord. 15 minutes before they happen, and you'll be able to uh, follow them in Discord. Make sure that you don't trade during those events. And then this is the trade I took this morning, and I could have held longer, but I just wanted to make sure everything's working, and that's it. So now so my plan right now is to just I'm gonna turn FSP on in the background, and then we're gonna look at um the indicators and just see what it says. This is gonna get boring now because we're just in chop, and we're gonna talk about what we're waiting for, and I'll tell you what my bias is. I'm not gonna tell you exactly when to get into a long or a short. I'm just gonna say, right now I'm looking for long, and I'm waiting for a pullback, because you want to wait for that pullback to get a better price. But it's not a signal service, and I don't want to add that extra stress, um, because I've seen in the past when I do that, and I feel more stress to take the exact right trade, and then I end up in bad trades and hold longer. And if I get to the point where I'm really good at doing it without getting stressed, then at that point I'll probably do more of a signal service and give people an option to use that. But I'm not there in my trading career. I'm not the guy that makes $2 million a month on prop account. Okay, any questions at this point, guys? I'm not sure if this is helpful or not, but that's just basically I want to educate you guys on the indicators. So we'll just go into them a little bit more and tell you what I see them telling me. Oh, good, good. So so again, so this is very cluttered because we have ES here and we have VIX at the same time. So I have separate iPads with them, and at some point maybe I'll send a picture of it. But you can see, like if you see this, you should see that this is chop. So the first thing is like if there's chop, you shouldn't be trading. Now if you want to lose money, that's great. Go ahead and trade. But so I like to align them, but you can see VIX is not respecting its alpha zone. ES is not respecting its alpha zone. We're we're dancing on the VWAP. We're rejecting this guy. So again, if you want to take any trades, the more likely trades of making money is shorting the top, longing the bottom. Okay. Now at some point that's going to stop working. Okay. But it's really important that you don't keep changing your mind because I can tell you that even with micros, you could very quickly blow up your account. Keep changing directions. So figure out what it is you want to do. So like right now it's chop. So I won't be taking a trade here. But if you look at this, there you can see PM high, pre-market high. So we're at the pre-market and we keep rejecting it. Now, if you keep bouncing into it, at some point you're more likely to break through it. Okay. But if you keep bouncing into it and it fails, you can also get a hard reject. Okay. So I see VIX is moving down, but it's not respecting the alpha zone. So what I prefer to do, see, so I'm just going to switch to, um, so this is VIX on its own chart. But let me just show you what I mean with the VIX that's more tradable. I mean, so this obviously was very choppy, but you can see how, so this was yesterday, and you can see how, and this is when we went down to close the gap on ES. But you can see how VIX is above the alpha zone and how it respects it. So it stays above it, and then as soon as you start breaking into it, this is where the direction change. And you can go and see ES did exactly the opposite. So if you look at this, this was a clean trade. And obviously it's hard, like it after the fact we could say, okay, well, here VIX is bouncing off the 48 cloud. Okay. Long. Um, so when you hear something say long, that's just some of the bots that's saying it looks like a long, but it doesn't mean it's gonna work because when you have a choppy market, like no indicators work really. Like right now we have chop. So anything right now, any signals you get right now from any indicator is should be highly suspect because it's a chop market. The only thing that works better in chop market is short at the top, long at the bottom. Okay. Anyways, back to this. So you can see this is VIX. So this was a great short. Okay. And that's why on one of the channels I said, hey, short for a gap close and then look for long there. But you can see here, alpha zone, it's above it. It respects it. Now, you cannot see it here, but like around here, you're like, okay, it looks like it. So here you can start building confidence and you can start locking in profit. And then as you build up more of a cushion, you can keep going. Now you get here, it's a high of day. So that yellow line that tracks the high of day and the low day at the bottom. And then you can see, okay, so again, the small triangles, that's 1 minute. So you can see you're on VIX, you have this 2 minute triangle, and they don't happen as often. So here you have a 2 minute triangle that says up. Okay. So even here, the indicator said, hey, it looks like VIX is going to bounce. Then you get this confirmation on 1 minute, and then you have a 1 minute that goes the other way. But then as soon as you get again, this is like a re-entry. So you can see all of this. And then the 2 minute triangle changes direction. And you're like, okay, it looks like VIX is changing direction. And then you see the alpha zone forming. You see how it stays below it. And that was the long, from yesterday. And then you see this again. You see the 2 minute changing again. See the alpha zone spreading legs. See it staying above it. Okay. And then you see these impulsive big candles, and those are where you're in that short, you want to lock in profits. So when you have a big candle in your favor, you want to lock in profits. And then you have the 2 minute there saying, hey, maybe the other way. And then, but here you can see now we just have chop. Why? Because look at your alpha zone. It's just not forming. It's just, so when you don't have an alpha zone that's inverting, that spread legs, that is respected, when you chop into the alpha zone, it's chop. That's not what you want. And then this is the next day starting right there. So that's why you have that. Okay, so I'm not sure if that's helping, but the more you can read VIX, the better your trades will be. Um, I promise you, this is the thing that really made a huge difference for me. It's just, but again, VIX is very choppy right now. We know we have a choppy market, but you can see VIX, yellow candles. So are you expecting ES to go up or down? ES should be moving opposite direction, but you could also see when VIX gets to the 48 cloud, it rejects it. So when VIX gets closer here to the 48 cloud, that then maybe, you know, ES is closer to the bottom for long. But, so this is, and it may not reject here. Just, it's more likely to reject or bounce when it comes from the top, but nothing's guaranteed trading. Otherwise, we would all be retired by now. Okay. So, NQ. And like I said, by read of the indicators is that we're leaning more bearish. So if, and that could change at any time, but if you're looking for shorts, then you want to short at the 48 cloud, you want to short at the VWAP. I mean, you want to look at levels and say, okay, where's the top? So you can see um, that's the high for the day on NQ. But this is a temporary high, so that's a high, lower high. So, again, it's choppy market, but when you're leaning bearish, like we said earlier, you're not going to be longing because a lot of traders will try and chase this move up and say, okay, we're going to break out now. And then they get in, they get trapped. And now you have to move down. Okay. So that's NQ, ES, you know, same thing. Oh, now ES, so now we're testing, you can see your pre-market low and the previous day's low. Okay. So now these are important levels. And so we could we could bounce here because yesterday the previous day's low was held. Okay. So it bounced yesterday. So now you have to be careful, obviously, with shorts. And again, I said don't short at the bottom, don't long at the top. Okay. Now, if you're going to take any kind of trade, you're going to want to take a long year at these levels. But we are looking very weak. So, you know, if the first time you get to a level, that's when it works best. Like the first time we got to pre-market low, they work better. But every time you go back there, it gets weaker and weaker. Okay, so you have to adjust your logic every time you get there. Reject that band. So now, because it's like first time, almost second time, third time, it becomes more risky. And you can see the money flow coming in. You see red dots, buying pressure. Um, I mean, that was a trade around there because we knew it was leaning bearish. So so I'm not taking a long here, even though it could bounce. Um, and the the money flow is telling me that we want to go down. Now, you don't want to take a short here, but so this usually so if you want to get a short, you want to get closer to the alpha zone. So the best place to take a short is to wait for a bounce that gets into the alpha zone. Sometimes it would get closer to the top of the alpha zone. And then obviously that would also be a VWAP checked if you're gonna do that. So you can see VIX. And again, like I said, if you're gonna just watch what VIX is doing, that's gonna help you with that trade to move quickly. Now VIX is here at the 48, so um, it could definitely reject at this point, but it could just be a temporary reject to trap some more traders. Okay, so I'm gonna be quiet now, and I'm just gonna watch the charts, and I will tell you when I see something important. That right now we have a bounce. So the question is that a temporary bounce or more of a permanent bounce? Now, like I said, I'm not gonna be, you know, I'm not a signaling service, for the obvious reasons. But I'm gonna try a quick short here and see if it works out. And then again, what's nice is like if I'm wrong, I'm gonna know to stop out right there. But this is a good place in a weak market to consider a short. And again, because it's choppy, you want to lock in your profits more quickly. Like you're not gonna hold it for $1,000. If you're any kind of trade you're gonna take, you're gonna lock in. So I trade ES, so I'll do like $150 profit, 200, and then if I have a trend move, then I'll hold runners. If you if you look at VIX, you can see that it is, like I said, it may come back for a temporary pullback and then go up to trap more people. So this is, again, you're putting on risk if you get into a trade. It's like it may work, it may not work. And like I told you guys, there's only two ways to fail. Number one is you lose too often. Okay, so if you take too many trades and you lose too often, you're gonna go out of business. You're gonna blow up your accounts. The other way is you lose too big. So if you lose too big because you're holding on to your losers for too long, then you're gonna lose too big as well, and then you're gonna be out of business. So make sure you cut the trades that don't work, and don't trade too much and too often, because then again they stack up very quickly. And at this point, you just want to trade one prop account at a time, and you have to be okay with losses. Okay, and what's nice about a prop account is it's not your money, so you're just, and so you can see this triangle building up, and so this is clearly holding. So we look at VIX. VIX is still deciding what he wants to do.
Treasury buyback announcement. Preliminary in 15 minutes.
You can see
Week
this
bill
channel on
announcement
VIX.
in
So
15
if
minutes.
if
Paid
you
week bill
took any
announcement
kind
in
of short,
15
this should
minutes.
be
Week
like
bill
your
announcement in
warning
15
flag to
minutes.
say, okay, cut your losses because VIX is going down. And this is the beauty of VIX. So now you're like, okay, I'm out. So if you took a short and you didn't lock in there, you should already be out, and your losses on ES shouldn't be more than $100. Okay. But every trade you're gonna take is gonna have risk to it, and VIX will tell you to get out quickly. And now, if you lose $100 on a trade, um, you're you're gonna make it up very quickly. Now, at this point, you shouldn't be jumping in long because VIX could be faking things out. But again, it's a choppy day, so we don't have any respect for the alpha zone on either the VIX or this guy. So we get here. Now, if you already build up a lot of profit, then obviously you can hold longer. But you wanna the way to stay in business is keep your losses down. So your first priority has to be keeping your losses down. Now, if you look at the 5 minute, where's the 5 minute? That's so if you look at the 5 minute chart, you can see chop, but you can also see how this might be a bear trap at this level down there. So this might give the bulls the confidence to get in. And that's FSP that you hear there in the background. Um, I think he's a very good guy to listen to him in terms of what the market is doing. But this is holding at these important levels. We have a long signal on NQ as I'm see VIX is also pulling back, and we saw. I mean, so when we had that big candle on VIX, that was the first indications, and we said it's 48 cloud. VIX is more likely to reject it than go through it. Again, you just don't know, but you're looking for that and you're ready if it rejects it so that you can catch the up. And so now all the bears are, offside. We're punching here into a new high of day. Now we're at this upper band. So because we're moving too fast, we
Bears
could
drowning.
first reject. But bears are drowning right now. But that doesn't mean it's just going to keep going because right now, so the market's job is to get you stopped out before it moves on without you. Okay. So this is not the point to get into a long. You're going to want to wait for a pullback. So the best long would be on a pullback closer to the alpha zone.
AP trade MNQ long VIX.
So that's again one of the bots saying, long signal. But again, it has a limit order closer to the alpha zone. So it's not going to get in here because you're going to get a pullback first because we're at that red level. We're
AP
at
trade
the top
MBS
of the
long
band.
VIX. AP Trade ES Longvix, AP Trade NQ Longvix, AP Trade MES Longvix, AP Trade MNQ
Okay, I
Longvix.
should turn that off. That's but again, so you expect a pullback at these levels. So even though you have a long signal, it doesn't mean you're going to jump in here. A long signal means you're looking for an entry long at this point. Because we were down here, we said, okay, maybe we'll reject here um, because we're bearish, but then we had a nice bounce, and now we have the alpha zone forming. We have a long signal. So if you can get in on a yeah, on a red candle, then you have more room to hold through the pullback. And if you're wrong, you lose less. Okay, but you're not gonna get in at the top of the green candle.
Long.
You can see the green dots. You can see, okay, so you can see everything here tells you it's a long. Okay, but again, you want to get into the long on a red candle, not green candle. And also the other thing is trade size. You don't like, so I only trade minis. So I just get one, and then until I have a proven trend, I'm locking in, a couple $100, maybe $150. But don't get in big because that's a sure way to blow up your account again. You can see how the money flow at the top's coming in. You see the green dots, see the buying pressure. Okay, so and you have to be able to hold through drawdown as well. So even when it gets red on you, you should hold through it. Now, again, you don't want to lose big, but
AP Trade NQ Longvix.
you cannot be scared when scared money doesn't make money. Okay, so I know there's a lot of confusing things, but again, you're not shorting. Short is not the trade here. You're looking for a long. So if you get a pullback to the alpha zone, that's a good long entry because you have money flow, those vertical bars coming in, you have the green dots, you have buying pressure that yellow buying pressure that started there. Now we couldn't know because we had buying pressure
AP
and then
Trade
it goes
NQ
away. But right
Longvix.
now you can see the buying pressure is holding. Green dots are holding. We're struggling because we're at the top. We're at the eye of day for NQ. So we expect that. So we want to watch VIX because that's going to be the first thing to tell us what's happening. Okay, let's look at VIX. So VIX is giving us a little bit of a bounce. So now the question is this going to be keep bouncing or go down? Because this is how they trap people. So you have to decide, so this line says quick bounce and then down. So let's take a look at yes, again, so we have an invert there on alpha zone. We're at this level, which is a good place for the bears to step up. But if you want to go long, the closer you can get to the alpha zone for long, better. Now it's a choppy day, so you got to know that it's a higher risk day today to take trades till we have a trend. But this this is a good place for long, but if they decide to trap the bulls, it would be a quick dump down. So you gotta know that. You gotta know the risk. That's also why you want to take profits quicker because it's a trapping market. And you can see there's no money flow here on
Long.
ES, where NQ definitely looks stronger here. So and yeah, if you listen to FSP, he's holding as well. He's like, again, it could drop. You have to be ready for that. You gotta be able to deal with failed trades, but I'm still in my long. Again, it's a test account, so it's not real money. You know, that makes it much easier to hold. Okay, so that's yes, you NQ. You can see the money flow. I mean, so this is giving me, more confidence to hold because I can see the money flow coming in there at the top. And so if this, so Dow, like if you got in down there, um, this is a big candle, so you should be locking in some profits on a big candle. Um, because again, it's a trappy day. So at the top of that green candle, you want to lock in most profits because nothing's a guarantee. Now, I think there's still room for a runner because we're still above the alpha zone, but it's so early and we're at that Bollinger Band where it could reject. But again, if I see a big candle in my favor, I lock in profits. So VIX is respecting the alpha zone. I mean, so we have a nice move down, but it's sideways, so it could bounce, but it's still below the alpha zone, so that's encouraging. Um, yes. So again, when you get to the top of when you get to these bands, that's where a lot of people lock in profit. So that's why it goes down. So you can lock in profit and you can reload here if you're still looking for that move. But you can see the buying pressure. So this yellow matches the yellow on this line, but this slope up here gives you more information on how steep it is. So you can see that the bulls are still have not given up yet, but they're struggling, and they shouldn't struggle this much here at the top because they've tried one, two, three, four. They're struggling too much at this level that they've tried to break through multiple times. So, so this could be a bull trap. I mean, you cannot know.
Announcement.
But if
Expiring
you
2
lock in
minutes.
profits on
Overweight
big
bill
candles and
announcement
then
in 2 minutes.
hold runners while you're
Runner
above
limit
the
in
alpha
2
zone,
minutes. 4-month bill announcement in 2 minutes.
then you're optimizing your chances. So so I'm still holding on to my runner, and I just have one runner. Because you could see VIX, you could see it's still respecting the alpha zone. It's still moving down. It doesn't. I mean, so it means nothing. I mean, like the market does what she wants to do, but I took profit on this big candle, and now I'm still holding my runner because they're struggling more than they should. But VIX tells me hold more. Like if VIX didn't go down here, I would have been out because they struggle so much. But VIX is telling me that you know runners can still work, and so this is telling me it's okay to hold a runner. You can see alpha zone, nice yellow. It's got the green dots, buying pressure. Um, and again, you could have a hard reject here at the top. Always know that because they're struggling so much. Um, that's why you need a stop loss. And this is why I like to watch VIX more closely and why I have separate displays for each one of them. Because if VIX, now VIX could have a big yellow candle and just fake you out and then move down. So you got to know that as well. But it's still below the alpha zone. It's still respecting it. Okay. And I already locked in my profits on that big candle. So now I'm just holding a runner and see, hey, and will the market give me more? But it's not up to me. It's up to the market. But if it breaks through the eye of day, you could see a nice big candle up. And now we're starting to see green band up there. And so the indicators, just to clarify, they don't repaint, but it also doesn't lock in the green band until that candle closes.
11 a.m.
So now it's locked in because that candle closed. Okay, so you have to understand it's not repainting when it goes away, but it's also not permanent until the candle closes. So you can see so you can see how the VIX gave us confidence to hold the runner, okay? This is how you know. Now at this point, you should be moving your stop up to be above the alpha zone, okay? And even, above the red line, the dotted line. And, you know, so don't give back all of your profits now, but it's also okay if it comes down before it pushes up. So the question is, how much buffer have you built up? But you can see the turn happened here when we got the buying pressure there. And it's easy to say now in hindsight. But we got yellow there, but no green. As soon as we got green, it's gone. Yellow, no green. Yellow, green. Then you see the money flow. So the money flow bars are super, super powerful because you can see, the extra confirmation. Now again, if you trade a range day, then the plan was to long at the bottom, short at the top. But then when we got to the top, we're like, no, we have buying pressure, we have green dots, we have money flow. So we're not going to short this top because there's more things staying up, but also then VIX. Okay, because we saw VIX reject the 48 band. Very important to watch those. And you can anticipate it. And many times it will reject it before it gets there, but sometimes it will go above it and then go down. You can see VIX respecting the alpha zone. Hopefully you guys got a nice long there. It's a choppy day, so you it may die at any time, but if you locked in profits on that big candle and you have a runner, then it's a question of how much you want to risk it. Um, what I can tell you is that right here, this was a
The 6,699 magnet
so
is
this is
making
Mancini
a shape
20.
like we have not seen in a long time, and it just defended again. Testing slash trapping below 8 times just since yesterday. A gold mine for failed breakdown traders. 6711 first target just hit for time today 6,115. 6719. 6731 remain above if hashtag USF wants it.
So you can see VIX here. Um, Now, it could bounce just to fake people out and then go down. So you got to know that. You got to know that. And it's because it's choppy. But if you have profit to work with, VIX is still, this is not a big bounce. This could just be a fake out. So if you have enough profit, you can hold because you have a green upper band. You're respecting the alpha zone on ES. You're still above it. On NQ, again, you can see how we're respecting the alpha zone, staying above it. It's very slow movement, but sometimes it moves slow like this, and then hours later, you're like, wow, look at where we are. You can see money flow still looking good for now. Buying pressure, green dots. So that's NQ. Again, I like to watch both ES and NQ. And it's struggling more than what it should, but that's okay. Um, I mean, anything can happen. You just, but this is not a short. Now you could say I want to just lock in my profits on a long, but this is not a short. So it's okay to get out and just don't do anything. But there's nothing here that says short. You have nice buying pressure, you have green dots, you have money flow. It's not very strong. It's not a strong move. VIX is respecting the alpha zone. Um, this guy is still respecting the alpha zone. But this is there's no short, but locking in your profits again, it's okay because greed is a good way to blow up accounts. And, I think it's good to do chop days and trending days and different kind of days so that you see how to approach them and knowing like you don't have to trade on a chop day, but sometimes that turns into a nice slow grind up and being like, oh, I missed out on it. But we're still respecting the alpha zone. And again, it could pull back and cut down here, but as long as we stay above the 48 loud and an upward sloping VWAP, it's still dangerous taking shorts. Okay. We still have money flow. The green dots are gone. Again, it's not a strong move. VIX still respecting the alpha zone. Okay. And and again, that's another reason why it's not a short, respecting it. And again, we knew that this upper white band is price likes to stay within it, so we're not surprised that there's profit taking it. Same year. I mean, we know how to read these. That's so it's not unexpected. But again, you should know that it's not a short. So even if you don't take a trade, that's okay. But you shouldn't be taking a short because we're struggling here. Okay. And that's so important is knowing so and even if you don't see a long, it doesn't mean it's a short. They're not opposites. Sitting in your hands is okay. But I want you to see why this is not a short. And it could totally dump here. Don't get me wrong. Just because it's not a short, it doesn't mean that a short cannot work. But there's nothing here saying short. This is saying long. This is saying to hold your runner. Now you locked in profits already on I think this big candle. Um, you could see VIX still. So you see the red bands on VIX going down. It's respecting the alpha zone. Okay, because it's not poking into it like it was doing there. That's zero respect. You could see this guy. And again, no short. Okay. If you want to lock in profits and then reload down here, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you how to trade. I'm going to help you read the indicators. It's a weak move up. Okay. So it's totally okay to lock in your profits and not do anything, but it's also totally okay to hold a runner because this could grind up very long. And you have to understand that we have a beautiful bear trap here at the bottom. Impulsive move down, impulsive move up. So so at this point, because of this move here at a very important level that we undercut, uh, the advantage is for the bulls. Now, that does not mean that we cannot go down and bounce off the VWAP before we go up. You have to understand, just because just because the bulls have the advantage to this bounce here, it doesn't mean that we couldn't grab more bears first before going up. And that's usually how it works because we want to grab more bears go up. And sometimes this becomes a bull trap now and it goes down. So that's why you lock in profits on the candles. Look at VIX. So you can see VIX starting to poke into the alpha zone. So you have to decide, okay. And again, this is why I take profit more, quicker until I have a proven trend. But so we have to so we have to hold this line as a first defense. So this would be a good place to hold it. Um, that red dotted line in the indicator. So on ES we already broke below it, still inside of the alpha zone. I mean we could still go down and it's still okay. Again, it's not a short. Now you could say I want to lock in my profits and be done because I'm getting nervous. You see blue buying pressure. So you could say, okay, I'm just gonna lock in because that's the first step for a move down, but sometimes it's just a trap. Okay, guys, is this helpful? Any questions? I mean, it's a choppy day, so you're not gonna get any great trades from here. Who knows? Maybe. Absolutely. You can. I mean, so you can use the 2 minute as well. So the indicators will work both on 1 minute and 2 minute, and it works just fine. Personally, I like the 1 minute, but you have to find something that works for you. So if you want to use a 2 minute chart or something else, that's fine. I mean, it's not gonna work on anything above 2 minute, but I like to keep looking at the 5 minute chart, and so you can see here 5 minutes shows us a lot of chop. You can see there's trap there. This could become a bull trap here, but it's just a choppy day. You can see we're in the previous day's range, so we should expect chop and take profit more quickly. But it's really, you have to find something that's not going to make you panic. And if the 1 minute chart does that, then obviously that's not going to work for you. Good question.
6-week bill auction in 15 minutes.
Um,
52-week bill
sorry, let me
auction in
just turn
15
off.
minutes.
So you can hear it read the notifications on, and so and I'll answer your question here as soon as I'm done with that. But so when there's upcoming news events, it's gonna show you. So it shows it in Discord, and then I also have the page where it speaks it to you, and it has a countdown. So I'm just gonna turn those off for now, and so that we can you can see. So Vix, so you can see Vix gave us a very very quick. As soon as it poked the alpha zone, we know due to get a little nervous about the move, and you can see how VIX is a powerful indicator combined with the alpha zone, so that we knew to either well lock in if we wanted to, or if we had a lot of profit build up already, we could say, okay, I just want to let my run, but it's still um it's still a little dangerous to do a short, but it is a choppy day. So you could say, hey, I want to short at the top. But again, we this bear trap at the bottom is gives the bulls more ammunition, but it's a choppy day. So it's not a good day to trade. Sorry, what was your question again, Ezra? I just completely forgot. Oh, do I have a schedule? Yes. Uh, so I don't have a firm schedule, but I am getting better at trading the open. Sometimes you have good direction there, but that's not something that I recommend for people that's not profitable yet. So usually, like the market tends to pick a direction around 10 a.m. So I think for people that's just like trying to read the indicator and I think 10 a.m. is a good time. And maybe I think like 9:45 a.m. just so that you get into it, because many times there's a direction change just around 10 a.m. But also if the market's going to keep going up, then that's a good time to know what the price action is doing. So yeah, I would say like 10 a.m. And then many times later in the day, you see, bear trap or bull trap, and then a nice move in one direction. So what I so 10 a.m. is a good time, but then later in the day, I wait for impulsive moves. Like if you have just impulsive, fast moves moving down, then it's important not to chase it, but to wait for that trap, and then when that momentum slows down and turns around, then I like to just get, one long and just let it ride and see if it works. And I usually do that on like a test account, so I don't care if it blows up. But so later in the day, I like to wait for um, traps, and then many times when you have a trap, you'll see it go down and then come down, and then so it will if you're on a long trend move down, then also you'll see a trap, but then the first time it tries to recover, it usually fails. So that failed recovery attempt is usually good short as well. So I mean, so there's different kind of setups that I've trained my eye for that I try to wait for later in the day. Um, So I just have like right now I have two, four, six, seven iPads and two Macs and a big screen. So I just have these multiple displays where if I see a certain movement, then I would get ready and say, okay, can I try and catch it? I try and only trade when I'm in front of everything. Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's 9:45 to 10 a.m. I think it's like a good time to see what the market trend is doing and trading that. Otherwise, the rest of the day, I just really wait for certain patterns before I trade them. But I'm getting better at trading the open. So that's I'm practicing that because that's very hard to do. And I think, if you can get a good handle on that, it can be super profitable. So good questions. Any other questions, guys and girls? So you can see here it looked very promising, this move up. Um, but then as soon as you got blue buying pressure and then VIX bouncing, basically the move was over. Um, Again, it's not a short that I would have taken. Well, and I also didn't take it. But this could still be a bounce right here for long. But it's a choppy day. It's a trappy day. So you want to trade less and save your ammo for days where there's a clear trend, so that you can add to winners. Was this helpful, guys?
Yes, thank you.
Good. So I mean, so you could stay on here. I mean, I'm gonna tell you what I see during the day, but I wanted to at least take a little bit of that. Like right now, like if you took a short at the top, because again, we're ranging, and you're like, okay, we could go down. That's fine, but this is not the time to short because the bulls still have the advantage. So you have to understand that because of this bear trap maneuver they did down here. So when I look at ES, impulsive move down, impulsive move up. So this is a bear trap. Okay. This bear trap stays valid until we break below it. Okay. We're still above it. So yes, if you took a short at the top, you made money. Okay. Um, but then we know price likes to stay in between these bands, with upper band, lower band. So look, price got to the bottom band. It bounced. Okay. So this could be a nice long entry, even though you have blue buying pressure, you have red dots. I mean, so everything here is down. Okay. But this bear trap is still in effect. Okay. So that's why you can't take a short here, because the bulls still have the advantage. Now they're running out of time as well because they have to get back up. But sometimes what you'll see is the bulls cannot make progress at the highs. They're like, I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying, I'm trying. Then a very common technique they use is to then sell it down, get the bears to chase it, and then that gives you the momentum back up, because now all these guys that chased it, if we go up here, they're going to start stopping out, and then we might have enough momentum to break through the highs. If we break below the low of day, then obviously we're trapping all of these bulls. Okay, so this is what we call a balanced market. So no side has given up yet. The better trades are when one side gives up. Okay, the bulls haven't given up, the bears haven't given up. So until you get one side that gives up, the better trades usually is shorting the top, longing the bottom, or not trade at all. Which is, so I'm not in any trades right now, but um, let's look at VIX. So you can see VIX again. we saw that there and we're like, okay, this is we're pushing into the alpha zone. So that was the first flag, and it kept going. But now we're back at the 48 cloud. So you can see boom. And so the question is now, is it going to reject the 48 cloud and grab more bears? Or is it going to go and just rocket to the upside? so 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 right now it looks like it wants to just push up. But again, the day started off very bearish, and right now the bulls have the advantage. So I cannot take a short here at the bottom. Not at this point. But yeah, it's with VIX. This is, your lungs are very risky. But if you want to trade this bear trap, this is a great place to get in long, and your stop's going to be below the low of day. Okay, so we call that a low risk long, not because it has a high probability of working, but it just means that you risk a low amount of money if you're wrong, because you know where your stop is, and you know when to stop out. And but I mean, the things they could also do is stop run. So if you put it there, they stop you out and then they move on without you. Um, but the closer, if you want to do a long, the closer you get in to the low of day, the less you risk. And if you're right, it would pay well. But again, it's a choppy day today. VIX is totally, you know, pushing up. So it's not a great day to to take any kind of trade, honestly. Um, and we have a short signal there. We have the alpha zone building up. We're seeing, yeah, I mean, VIX is very strong. You can see how the alpha zone's forming on VIX. You can see how it's strong. So this is totally telling you, short. But again, I'm not. It's we can wait for better confirmation. So let's see what happens here. Again, so I'm not going to tell you what kind of trades to take, but I want you to see how to read the indicators. So you can see how VIX right here. So we had a yellow candle, but it was still below it, sideways. And then as soon as we start poking it, that was the um first time that we're like, okay, maybe there's a short. And again, it's hard for me to take some of these trades when I'm explaining it. And then over time, as you get better with understanding the indicators, we'll be able to take more of the trades because I have to explain less. But you can see how it goes up, respect the alpha zone, and so this is pre-market level there. And so again, if you wanted to do a range day, the these levels, this is the place. If you're gonna long, this is where you want to long, not up there. Okay, longs down here, shorts up there. If you're playing a range day, once you have a confirmed trend, then obviously it's completely different. So you can see now, yeah, so we undercut that level, so we made a new low of day. So this is what's nice about the yellow line. So you can see every time you make a new low, it's going to step. So this is like the last chance for the bulls to make progress. And again, they struggled at the top, and then one very good technique is to flush it down, trap more bears, and then come back up. And then you should break through it. And if you don't, then you could get a hard drop as soon as you get to the top, and you're not able to make progress. Now take a look at VIX here, guys. You can see how we get a blue candle on VIX. So this looks like we might be trapping more bears before we go up. I'm not taking any trades here because it's a choppy day, but it's not a short here at the bottom. Even though you have a short signal, if you're going to do a short, you want to get it closer to the alpha zone. Because then if you're wrong, you could stop out just above the alpha zone. If you get into a short now, um, and you're wrong, you have to wait much longer before you stop out. But for me, this look at this long wick here, okay? This to me looks more like a long right there. See this? This is more. It's undercutting that level. So this to me, getting in closer to this pre-market low here, that's a better long than a short at this point. But if you're going to take a short, closer to the VWAP is where it's at. The VIX. Again, the only reason why the long looks better to me is because we had that bear trap bear trap action when we talked about. We couldn't make progress at the highs, and now we're pushed down to trap more bears, and then we can make another attempt at the highs. I hope that makes sense. But so you have to look at price action and tell the story, like what's happening. You cannot just look at a single candle and say, oh, this is this or that. You have to tell the story. You have a you have a bear trap, you go up, not making progress, you're like, hey, let's just flush them out, let's get more of them trapped. Because I mean, you can see like this is almost like the bulls gave up, but now this is thin structure, so it won't be that hard to stop them out and then make another attempt at the highs. Okay, so and then this long wick here is another case for lungs. And the thing is, it's good for you to make a case both sides. Like, so that's the case for lungs. You can see VIX is saying the same thing, saying lungs. And then, you can make a case for shorts. And you can say, okay, what's the case for shorts? Okay, we trapped bulls here at the highs right here. And so you had them chasing here. So you can see these long candles up here. So that's telling you that they chased the movement up. They got to the top. They couldn't make profit. So we got down to the bottom. Now we chop some more bulls, but we're rejecting at the 48 loud, close to the VWAP. So that's the story if you want to tell it from the other side. And I think it's always important to look at it from both sides. But again, I prefer that the longs just because of the bear trap, number one, failure to make progress at the high, and then pulling out the flush card, and then the long wick at the bottom. And I could be completely wrong, okay? Um, because you're below the alpha zone, you have blue buying pressure, you have red dots. So they printed very bearish. Okay, but that is could be just to suck in and trap more bears before you go up. So you have to decide which one. Okay, and again, it's not so you should trade what you see and not what you predict. But those are the two sides to the story that you need to decide which one is it. And if you can keep charts open for VIX and everything else, then like we missed it while we were on the other charts, but you can see here VIX is already looking like it wants to bounce um for the last two candles. You can see how beautifully it reacts to that 48 cloud. So that's so if the bears are going to step up, there's places where it's good for them to do that. And the 48 cloud, the map, those are all places for them to take a stab at it. And then watch VIX. Like this is my dedicated chart. What's VIX doing? And it will color code it. And it looks at VIX, it looks at VIX 1D, it looks at VIX 90. So it looks at a few things and it will color code it. And if it's yellow, it means that VIX is pushing up. If it's blue, it's down. Orange is indecisive. Like, am I going sideways? Am I up? Am I going down? And this is telling you that I mean it could go either way. So again, if you're gonna short, you're short at the top at that level, the 48 cloud. If you're gonna long at this level. So you shouldn't get bullish at the top and bearish at the bottom. Sure way to lose money. Now we're below the alpha zone. We're below the VWAP. We're I mean, so everything's printing very bearish at this point. Look at VWAP. We have blue buying pressure, and you can see it started right there, and it's like so you can see why the buying pressure is so amazing. Like if you just simply get out. I mean, some days I just trade with the buying pressure, and it works out pretty well. You can see, like, I mean, obviously, you're its job until what time was this? Was around 10:30 when it started getting direction. You could see it's yellow, but there it takes a bend down. So that's where it decided, okay, maybe we're going down for a little bit, turns blue, boom. But again, that the long is not over, because it could be a trap. Now VIX is definitely saying it's a short if VIX, but again, it could quickly change its mind. We start breaking down here, it could be a big flush down, printing very bearish. And I'm not in any trades right now because I'm doing too much talking. So the other thing, so the other thing I want to mention is like, so we, so if you look at this, we have a strong move down. So this was the first attempt to recover. And if we have a strong move down that lasts for an hour or so, then usually this first attempt to recover will fail. And it will usually fail around the top of the alpha zone. Now, this was a short move, but it still behaves in the same way where it failed right about there. So if So if you're gonna try and short this bounce, this is a good place. The top of the alpha zone is a good place if you're going to try that. But again, the long is not completely dead yet. It's just a very choppy day, and it's and if we break down, it's gonna be a severe breakdown. So if you take a long, you gotta know that. You gotta know that there's a big move coming here soon. And if you're wrong, you better have a stop loss. But the bulls have to hold this level. If they don't hold this level, they break below this white line, it's gonna get very nasty. And the thing is, like, if you if you long the bottom and short the top, you could make good money on most days. If you don't have a confirmed trend, you could you could do really well. Um, but could also get you into bad habits. So I don't do that much. But the point is, don't short at the bottom, don't long at the top. Let's look at the 5 minute chart. So that's 15 minute. You could see the pre-market low. You could see previous day low. For now, it's holding, but you can see how we rejected the top. So I mean, so it looks both. It looks bad for both sides, but obviously we're at the bottom right now, so the bears feel good. But this could also be the place where we're gonna bounce. So I cannot take a short here. And honestly, I don't like trading choppy days. 5 minute chart. And again, we knew that it's likely to be a choppy day because we're in the previous day's range. So you got to understand that. That's yesterday. So the gray, that's overnight. That's yesterday. Okay. We're inside of yesterday. That's chop. We're inside of pre-market low and high. That's chop. I mean, so for us to get momentum, we have to break outside of yesterday, and we have to break. If we break below these levels, the pre-market and overnight, then we'll see well, I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but then we're likely to see momentum to the downside. But you also have to understand that the market likes to trap people. So I can't definitely cannot do a short here. If you want to do a short, it's better to wait for bounds to get in. Like you can see VIX is above the alpha zone and respecting it. So VIX is saying short. So that's how you use the VIX. And make sure you install the VIXy indicator and use Icon-Ashi candles. And you can see this level is, I mean, it's still holding. And remember to look at ES and NQ. We see it's it's holding. And if it keeps holding, like for 45 minutes to an hour, at some point, it's just gonna bounce hard. And that's why a short is very dangerous. But again, I would like to see VIX get below the alpha zone. And you don't have to be first on these moves. I mean, if you want to be first, you want to really get it right there at the pre-market low so that you have some room. So if you want to be first, you have to be really, really, really first so you're not chasing. But otherwise, just wait for confirmation because for long, we want to see the alpha zone invert. We want to see yellow buying pressure. We want to see VIX below the alpha zone. Um, all I'm saying is it's not right. Like you could have taken a short up there, and that would have been a great short. But down here, it's not a short because we're holding this level. Can a short work? Absolutely. Can a long? I mean, anything can work. No one knows, but you have to know that this level is holding for now. And it's not a great day to trade. Okay, so you see VIX. Go ahead.
For a better day to, I mean, it's in that sense, it's a good day that doing this, you're not missing trades.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's a choppy day, so this is a great day to ask a lot of questions. It's also the first day, so it's a good day to ask a lot of questions so that you can get to know the indicators. Because I mean, my hope is that, like if everyone gets really good at the indicators, then we could like, you know, everyone can call out things. So, I might be outside, you know, having lunch and not looking at the charts, and someone else might say, "Hey, we got a bear trap," so then we can all focus on it. But yes, I mean, when it's more of a trend day, it's also easier because then you just get into the move, you lock in profits on big candles, and then you just let your runners run. Um, but no, no, I appreciate what you're saying, and I definitely want to encourage people to ask questions today, and get to know the indicators, and I'm explaining why it's not a short, and then anything can happen, but I'm giving you my logic as to why it's not a short here at the bottom and why the long is still alive. And and again, I might be completely wrong, but it's important to say this is what the indicators tell me, and then even then you got to know that they might be wrong. But if you understand the logic of the storytelling, then that will help you tell your own story, and you know, like, at least why am I taking a trade? And then if you know why you're taking a trade, then you'll know when you're wrong. And that's a very important thing, because a lot of people don't know when to give up and know that they're wrong, and then they just sit in it. But so our hypothesis was the bear trap at the bottom, no progress at the top. So then I use the flush card where I flush it down, get more bears trapped, and then I try and make another move for the top. Now, this bounce is very weak, and I don't like that, but it's also because we're in the previous day's range, we're within the pre-market low and high, so it's expected to have weak price action if you're still within the pre-market low and high. So I'm hoping this is valuable. I'm trying to tell as much of the story, as possible, and showing how the indicators show us that. And but it's more than just the indicators. It's also reading the price actions and the levels and everything else. But sometimes it's very valuable to know, not to take the short at the bottom. Even if you don't take the long, that's okay. But with prop accounts, again, the risk is much lower. But the important thing is not to keep changing your mind. It's like if I'm looking for a long, then I should wait for the bottom and then get a long. I mean, it's okay to sit in your hands, but you have to decide, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a long or a short. Okay, and then you should only do that. And then take profits on big candles. Like if you got into the long here at the bottom when we talked about it, then you should know that it's a chop day. So your first profit target has to be the VWAP or the 48, because there's no guarantee that it's going to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's a choppy day. So any trade you have to lock in much quicker. You can see VIX, how it helps with direction. We're holding this pre-market level, promising very slow price action. ES and AU, they're both saying the same thing. Yellow buying pressure, dots. Again, if you're trading a single ES contract, uh, you only need 5 points, and that's $250. So if you go from 67, that's $250. And if you do $250 every day, that's like with 20 trading days, it's like real money. So it's important not to be greedy. Again, that 5 points. 250 a day times 20. I mean, that's 5 grand a month. I mean, who couldn't? I mean, 5 grand a month. Who wouldn't want that? I mean, but that's all it takes. So you have to think of your trading that way. It's not about making $1,000. It's about making 5 points on ES. Now, if you trade NQ, it's obviously more points, but they move so much quicker. But just like, I mean, I don't like to set targets per day because then you end up making wrong decisions. But you have to realize it's only 5 points on ES, and 5 points on ES is $5,000 a month. So you have to put it in perspective and just say, look, I don't have to chase the move because it doesn't take a whole lot to do 5 grand a month. You can see how we get more confirmation now. So we said, again, we said, look, bear trap, build progress at the top. We said, common technique is flush them out, trap more bears, then make another attempt at the high. Now, it's a very choppy day, so it may never happen. But you can see how we're getting very slow price action when we're starting to get yellow buying pressure. We get green dots. Um, we're holding these levels. So again, I cannot take a short when I see story building for another attempt at the high of days. But a lot of traders will say, okay, well, this looks like a failure, so I'm gonna short it. And but if you understand the strategy that they tend to use, then you're going to be careful with the shorts. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to make an attempt at the high of day, but I'm seeing it unfolding in a way that it could totally happen. And because of that, I cannot take a short. Does that make sense, guys? It's very important to understand.
Yes, makes sense.
Oh, good.
Yes, that's very helpful.
Good. And it's so hard to hold through these red candles, guys. But the best trades are the hardest trades. You have to understand that. You can see it looks like maybe money flow is coming in. I mean, that's still not enough. I mean, so nothing's a done deal, obviously, but it's a choppy day. But we're seeing more and more. But again, any big candle, lock in profits because you can always get back in on a pullback. You can see here we had a long signal on this red candle. Okay. So you see red candle at the bottom. We had a long lock in profit. And again, you can see VIX. This is VIX has to be your favorite chart to look at, guys. It's mine. Yeah, so I'm probably going to end the live session around here. So I'm gonna try and do from like 10 a.m. to noon and see how it goes, if that's helpful for you guys. Because like in the beginning, I think just learning how to read it, and I think most of the action, and I might even start at like 9:45 when I'm able to on some days. Um, but I think because I think that's where most of the price action happens. Now, if there's a trap later in the day, I might jump on and just you know tell you guys what I see, but I don't want you guys keep you guys stuck here for all day. So I might stay connected and just mute my mic and never come back, or come back if I see something. But like I say, right now the way I read the price action, again, there's no guarantees. There's not financial advice. It's just entertainment. Just some guy from South Africa that has no clue what he's talking about. But what I see is bear trap, no progress at the top, flush them out. Now we're trying to make another attempt. So if we get here to the top, we should be able to break through it. I want to see money flow coming in. If we stay stuck at the top for too long, then we're gonna have a hard flush down and we're gonna break the low of day. Simple as that. Okay. Because if we trap all of these bears and we're not able to make a new high of day and push, then if that doesn't happen, the opposite's gonna happen. So this is our last attempt at making progress to the upside. Now, and we don't have to even go to the high of day. I mean, we could just totally fail right here. But this is the story that's unfolding, and we don't know which direction it's going yet. But the important thing is we held very important levels. We have this big wick here, which gives me more confidence in the move up. We're held. I mean, there's a lot of confluence here. We have the pre-market low, we have the overnight low, we have the previous day's low, we have this green line, we have the Bollinger Band. So I mean, so there's just a lot of confluence here, and then we have the low of day right there. So so this should give the bulls what they need, and if they don't make it happen, then it's going to be a violent move to the downside, and you got to know that. Okay. Um, we have some buying pressure. We have green dots. We don't have money flow coming in, so I want to see more of that. Keep your eye on VIX. So VIX is going to give you the guidance you need. So if VIX starts breaking into the alpha zone again, you know, take your profits more quickly on days like this, because like you could, if we come down and VIX is changing direction, you can get back in and move up, and but now you have more profit to work with. So don't be shy locking in profits on choppy days, you know. Now you can hold a runner while we're staying above the alpha zone and respect it, but only if you have decent profits built up. Don't hold runners if you don't have a cushion, okay? And make sure your runner have a stop loss, because it's all about preserving your funds. So you cannot get greedy. The market will give you what she wants to give you. But it's very choppy. It can go either direction, but the long is not dead. And you got to know that. And the short's not dead either. Okay. Any questions before I let you guys go?
No, I don't have any questions, but I appreciate everything.
Oh, I'm glad you guys could make it. I'm glad it was helpful. I think we'll get more out of days it's less choppy, but it's important to learn both. Okay, I'm just gonna mute myself. You guys are welcome to stay in here because I might unmute myself at some point. I might drop off. But like I say, so I'm gonna try and do live sessions from 10 a.m. to noon, Eastern time. And I'm gonna try and get in at 9:45 on days that I can, and yeah, and I'll try and keep doing it while it's helpful. If it's not helpful or we stop getting value out of it, then I'll just stop doing it. But my hope is that we can get some of you really good at the indicators, and then we can all work together as a group and catch the big moves. Because that's really what it's about. Like I say, you only need 5 points in a day, and then it's $5,000. But also, when you catch a trend move, that day could easily be a $10,000 move. So you got to know that, and you got to save your energy for that. So if we have more eyes on the charts that say, "Hey, this is one of our moves," then we can all jump in and hopefully catch those big moves.